This is Dean Sigmund, head golf pro at the Tega Cay Golf Club since 1985. Dean, would you tell me what the club has to offer in the way of golf today, and if you want to go on into the future?
Sure. We have an 18-hole daily fee public golf course. It was built in the early 70s, and we have been public since 1982 when Tega Cay became a city. I was hired in 1985, and I've been here since and have really enjoyed working here with the people of Tega Cay and our guests. We have the capabilities to play approximately 40,000 rounds a year. To get to that number is pretty difficult right now because of the new golf courses that's opened in the last 5 to 10 years. We are currently playing around 30 to 32,000 rounds, so we'd like to have a little bit more. Our plans for the future at Tega Cay, we have a new 9 under construction right now, scheduled to open in the fall of this year. The architects are Clifton, Mazzell and Clifton out of Florida, a very good golf architectural firm. After that new 9 is open and we're playing, we plan to close down one of the existing 9s and do a complete refurbished renovation from the green complexes to the fairways, replacing the common Bermuda with a hybrid 419 Bermuda and a new irrigation system. We most likely will reroute a couple of the existing holes, just change the layout, change the design. Number 10 will become a par 3. Our driving range and practice facilities will be pretty much where we're setting right now. Once the new clubhouse is built, this one will be demolished and will become our practice facility. Once the first of the original 9s is renovated, we plan the next winter to close the other 9 and do the same thing. So our goal in 3 years will have a brand new 9-hole golf course, 2 rebuilt, refurbished 9. So we'll have a 27-hole daily fee golf club. And some of the perks for living in Tega Cay, you get a greatly reduced rate. The residents will receive a couple of days head start on the ability to make tee times, and those are pretty good perks. Once we have 27 holes, we are looking somewhere in the mid-40s to 50,000 as far as our rounds go. So that's almost not quite doubling the traffic we have now, but our goal is to get to that point.
I understand that in the past couple of years you went from semi-private to public. That occurred, what, a couple of years ago? A year ago?
That transition actually became official January 1st of this year, 1999.
Yeah. In the meantime, in addition to looking forward to the new courses, you've been doing some refurbishing of the present courses. I know one of the things that you've done is to fix the golf paths,
yes.
Golf cart paths, excuse me. And there's several other things you've been doing around, I noticed.
Our goal is to get caught up from where we should be. A golf course cannot take years of neglect on capital expenditures like this golf club did from, say, 1988 to 1996. There is certain projects that need to be addressed every 2, 3, 4 years, from cart path renovation and repair to sand bunker, replacing the sand, fixing any things that go wrong if we have a drainage problem. These are just some of the few areas that need to be addressed in a proper maintenance budget. And we have not had the ability in the past to do that, but we are catching up now.
Well, Dean, you've given me a good insight into what this is Nancy Curry, past president of the Tega Cay Garden Club and a long-time participant in garden club activities. Nancy, would you tell me what are some of the projects being done by the garden club today?
Okay, thank you, Phil. garden club was founded in 1977 and has been active in the community ever since. They maintain the gardens at the police station. They change the annuals according to the season, and we decorate at Christmas time. It's a diverse group of women of all ages, of all gardening skills. There's some who are very knowledgeable, very practiced gardeners who come and share their knowledge and talk over the latest techniques and what's good and bad in their gardens.
You have them all over the country, I take it.
Oh yes, yeah. And another group new to the area, like I was a few years back, who had to learn a whole new type of gardening. Very different from what we did up north.
Yeah, red dirt gardening
yes.
is a little different, isn't it?
It certainly is. And then there are a group that never get their fingers dirty, but they come for the knowledge that we have with our speakers every month, or just for the good companionship.
So you do have regular meetings, and
we have a meeting once a month. We usually have a speaker, maybe a horticultural subject, maybe something related, such as ecology, composting.
Yeah.
The river keeper came and spoke. It's something related. Tim Gillette comes regularly, usually once a year or so, and gives us a talk on whatever we ask them for.
Yeah. Then you do travel around to certain places in the area, don't you?
Yeah, just this spring we went to a local orchid greenhouse that I didn't even know was here. It's right on Pleasant Road. There were 4 greenhouses, just the most beautiful, gorgeous orchids. But as interesting as the greenhouses were the several acres they have there that the owners have put their own plantings in. Very unusual things, very exotic things, just beautiful grounds. And it was practically around the corner. I had no idea it was here.
Oh, is this at Jimmy Hall's place?
No, I think Jimmy Hall was here in Tega Cay.
Yes.
No, this was right opposite Beacon Knoll.
Oh, I see.
Several acres. And
Is it open to the public?
Yes. They even have a sales room, but it's hardly noticeable from the street because it's so wooded in the front.
Yes.
So you don't see it.
So you get into a lot of different activities, but you say you do maintain the police station?
We maintain, yes. And
that is the gardens around the police station?
Yes, the grounds. We have 2 major fundraisers a year. One's a fashion show, and the other is a bake sale at the block party in the fall. And the funds that we raise all go back into the community. This past year, we gave a donation to Beautification for planting, and we paid for 3 of the new beds over at the local grammar school. They're having classroom gardens.
So you go outside of...
This was the first time,
yeah.
But so many of our children go to school there.
Sure.
And they wanted to introduce the children to gardening and how food grows and how plants grow. And they approached us and asked for our help. So we funded 3. They're doing a garden, I guess, for each classroom.
Good. It's good for the community as a whole, as well as...
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, Nancy, I thank you for giving me an insight into what the Garden Club does and its activities. I know from my own point of view when I come in and see the police station and the way it's landscaped, I know the Garden Club did it, and I'm sure the rest of the community appreciate it.
Well, it takes a lot of cooperation from a lot of people, but we enjoy doing it.
Yeah. This is Linda Stevenson, who is chairman of the Beautification, Conservation, and Advisory Committee. And we'll use the short-term beautification committee throughout this interview. Linda, you've been in Tega Cay for how long? Is it 4 years, I understand you've been here?
Yes, it's been about 4 years since we moved from the Washington, D.C. area here.
Came down here, and of course you probably got involved in beautification in order to find out how plants grew here as opposed to where you came from. Is that?
That's very true, especially how to deal with this red clay.
Yeah, I think a lot of us got involved in that that's why we got into beautification. That's why I did, I know. Getting back to the committee itself, would you tell me something about how this committee functions and what it does and so forth?
Yeah, the Beautification Committee functions based on volunteerism, and our main objective is to make sure that we promote the interest in beautification and conservation in Tega Cay. And so we'd like to encourage everyone out there to join our group as we make Tega Cay not only a better place to live the good life, but also to enjoy the beauty around us.
Yeah, you have regular meetings, I assume, and in order to get the group together and make you do your planning?
We do have meetings, but we try to minimize the meetings as much as possible because the emphasis that we have is to get down and dirty in the dirt. And we work to assist Tim Gillette, who is the city horticulturist, as he improves the beauty of the city's parks, beaches, buildings, pathways, anything else that Tim directs us to do. And we pull weeds, plant flowers, rake leaves, pick up litter, twigs, branches, whatever, while we enjoy the fellowship with other members. But we do meet every second Thursday of the month at 2 p.m. at City Hall so that we can plan our activities. And we have work schedule sessions, usually the following Thursday, which will be the third Thursday. And we usually meet, excuse me, and schedule them during the weekday, but sometimes on the weekends.
Yeah, now, what does your membership consist of? You have what, about 10 or 15 members?
We have 20-something listed on our roster, but some of the members are not available to come to the meetings, and so we just call them for work sessions only because they choose to just do the work sessions.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any difference whether they come to the meetings or not, if they prefer to work in the fields and so forth.
That's very true, and we emphasize that this is a volunteer committee, and that you give to the city what time and energy that you have to give.
Yeah. Would you tell me some of the projects you're currently working on?
Well, we're very excited about Section 11 ball field, which we will be doing some landscaping when that's begun, hopefully very soon. And also, we're very happy that we've just acquired a strip of land between Riley Lane and Tega Cay Drive where we're planting a garden, and that's very new.
That'll be a great addition to Tega Cay, I mean, because that's a very prominent place on Tega Cay Drive. It's been an eyesore in the past, really. So
it is a lovely strip of land that's probably 500 feet long and maybe 60 feet wide at its widest points. So we're very excited. We think that this will probably be a phase-in job because it's such a large strip of land. We'll be doing this project for quite a while.
I understand you have water, you have the ability to get water out there, and
we do. And Newland, Carolina, I might say, gave us the property and also donated money for us to start our project with. So we're very pleased with that.
Well, that's really something to grab a hold of this coming year, and it probably go beyond that because it's a big piece of property that you're going to landscape.
Right.
Now, you during the year you have certain specific functions that you support. Can you tell me what they are? Periodically, you're supporting things like the 4th of July, and what are some of the things?
The 4th of July, we always get excited about our parade that we put into the float. That we call it. Last year we gave away flowers to citizens of Tega Cay, and we're planning that again this year. So we get excited about the 4th of July, and we also sponsor activities for Arbor Day.
Yeah.
And last year we had a very nice, good turnout of people that came to the Arbor Day that was very nice, and we planted a tree. We also sponsor a booth at the block party that's held annually in Tega Cay.
Yeah, that's held in October, isn't it?
It is held in October. And one of the big functions that we have is to sponsor spring pick-me-up activities, which is a week-long activities getting ready for the spring and picking up and getting residents involved in cleaning up their homes as well as the city parks.
Yeah, sort of inspire them, encourage them to keep the city clean. Now, you have a group of master gardeners that are in your committee, I know, And how about tell me something about how you disseminate information about gardening to the people in Tega Cay?
We are very happy to have master gardeners, but I'd like to say also that we have a lot of members who really can't identify a weed from a flower, but we just pull them right along and help them out. So just because you're not a real good gardener, don't let that discourage you from joining us. And we do try to get information out to the citizens in Tega Cay through Channel 3, which is an excellent means of communicating with the community. And we also put out information in the Tega Cay trade winds periodically.
Yeah, to keep the citizenry informed. Well, you've given me a good, concise insight into what the Beautification Committee does, and you're to be complimented on the program that you have, and I thank you very much for participating in this interview.
I thank you too, and I'd like for everyone to be encouraged to join us as we have fun and beautify the city.
Thank you. Every Friday morning at 8 o'clock in the community church, about 20-odd fellows gather for fellowship. And here we are, the cook. We have Jim Studebaker over there. How about looking up here, Jim?
Oh, all right.
And Red Fuller. They're the cooks. What are you cooking today?
Say cheese.
We can't say cheese, we got no omelets
Say sausage.
Sausage, hey.
Yeah. Nice sausages, strawberries,
Yeah,
waffles.
good.
Good
Let's
breakfast this morning.
swap off the cooking,
Non-fat syrup. Right.
gather for fellowship ahead of time. Here's Luke Kachenik, Dan Fitzgerald. There's Phil Fenton over there. Got a photograph of him. Enjoying coffee before they sit down for breakfast. Some more come in all the time. Sometimes you get up to 25 here. Generally lined up going through the breakfast line. Have a lot of fun chattering.
Okay, I'll have Judy will call a week before anyway, and just make sure that...
We got the strawberries. They're around eating, collecting money. $2 a person.
There are colleagues that are sick, in need of our thoughts, in need of our prayers.
Yeah, I feel a little better today.
Good. Any word on anybody? Okay.
I spoke to Gerhard.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be sick,
That's right.
but he just doesn't...
Hey, see, today's cooks.
Who are they?
Who are they?
Jim Studebaker and Red Fuller. There's problems. I heard yesterday that Kaiser is not only pulling out of Charlotte, they're pulling out of the entire state of North Carolina. It's almost, in healthcare, that's sort of like General Motors going out of business. But a managed care case reviewer, and I can tell you, if there's anybody that's a pain in the, let me see, I'm not sure I wear a tie there, but it's managed care reviewers. High school dropouts, they're telling professionals what to do. But anyway, a managed care reviewer gave this critique of Schubert's unfinished symphony. All 12 violins played the same notes. This is unnecessary duplication. Their numbers should be cut. For a considerable period, the oboe players had nothing to do. Their numbers should be reduced and their work spread evenly among the other staff. Number 3, no useful purpose is served by repeating with horns the passage that was already played by the strings. If such redundancies were eliminated, the concert would be cut by 20 minutes. Number 4, the symphony has 2 movements. Mr. Schubert should have been able to achieve his musical goals in 1. Conclusion, if Franz Schubert had paid more attention to these matters, he would have had time to finish the symphony. And Dick Dillsworth is going to help us learn something or be entertained this morning. Dick?
One of our things, it may have been Ed and it may have been Art, was talking about the difference between women's humor and men's humor, and it brought to mind a couple of jokes that I told my wife, and I don't tell jokes real well, and very seldom does she laugh, but one of them she thought was hilarious, woman's humor, and the other, men's humor, woman's humor. Guy's cruising up the side of a big mountain in his convertible, nice sunny day, having a good time, not going too fast, meets a car coming the other way. Young, pretty girl is in it. She leans out the window, yells, "Pig!" And that really made him mad. He drunk. "Bitch!" Keeps on going, and he speeds up. He's so mad, goes around the curve, and there in the middle of the road is a 400-pound pig, and he runs right into it.
Just to tell you that the speakers don't just tell jokes at the morning breakfast, but they go on to more serious subjects. Dick Dillsworth on this morning told about his experiences in assembling a classic sports vehicle. In the past, there have been people who have talked about visiting the Great Wall of China in China. There have been people who've talked about how a Trident submarine is assembled, and also, as a matter of fact, I told that story. And there's also a story about how the brain functions. So there are very many serious topics that are discussed in addition to the joke telling at the morning breakfast. I think anybody who goes at 8 o'clock on a Friday morning to the community church will probably enjoy it. Thank you.
Vintage Club monthly meeting, dinner meeting, every month on the last Wednesday. We have a meeting. Here's Ed Weaver coming towards one of the members.
I was telling Barbara about it.
The check-in group. Hello, how are you?
Happy 14th Tega Cay Vintage Club birthday. Hey, hard workers.
Vintage Club is open to all Tega Cay residents over 50 years. As you can see, it's been in existence for 14 years. Here's Mrs. President of the Vintage Club back here. They're all gathering prior to the dinner.
So what do I do? I go in the
No, I'll get it for you.
You people have been traveling so much, and then when you come home you're sick. I got something here.
There we go. There they are, waving away.
I think this is probably the best thing, and if you'd like some...
14th birthday party of your Vintage Club. Our invocation this evening will be by Fred Sleeman. Fred, we're awfully glad you're here. Please come on.
Thank you, Lord, for one another, our loved ones, and those not with us tonight. May our understanding, appreciation, and love grow in grace and deepen in meanings as we take this food in thy name. Amen.
New president of the Vintage Club, Dick Dillsworth. And the birthday cake.
It's a different shot. One more shot.
Anybody want to see what it said?
Typical buffet. President. Bridge ladies come here every Wednesday in the City Hall, and they have their group. This is a tradition around Tega Cay. second. Yeah, okay. Okay.
This is the Wednesday morning Ladies Bridge Club. And you just saw us having one of our special affairs. We had a spring luncheon. And we played 5 rounds of bridge, and all is invited that lives in Tega Cay.
About how many are they participating?
We had 28 today. We usually have around 20 to 24 every.
Let me say welcome to the POA Canvas Forum today. My name is Bert Broadway, and I'm president of the POA. And we do thank you for coming out on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, knowing how pretty it is and how much yard work everybody has to do in Tega Cay. I understand that you're committed to the good life. As president today, I will serve as your mediator, and the purpose of this is to introduce you to the 4 candidates we have running for the empty vacancy in Tega Cay City Council. It's also to inform the citizens of Tega Cay about the issues represented in this election. We have taken questions over the past month through email, through the trade winds, and through people calling my home, leaving me notice on my bus and at my residence. It's also to offer an opportunity to the citizens to question candidates and issues pertinent to the election. Now, what I did before we started is I asked for any questions that you may have. If questions occur that you want to ask, you will bring them up. And your questions will be asked only if we have remaining time. We've already got a list of questions of 10, and it might possibly be that we finish those up. We, the POA Association Board, and these fine 4 candidates, welcome and thank you for this beautiful afternoon. You're involved and concerned with the government people.
We've seen what Tega Cay is like today in all of its beauty and all of its capabilities, the fire department, the fire and rescue, and things like that. We will now move over to how did this happen? What made it happen? Really, the history of Tega Cay. We'll start out by the Kataba Indian story, which is a very interesting one, and Congressman John Spratt will narrate that. It'll be followed by a narration by me of the development of Lake Wylie. And then we'll get into the people who actually participated in the development of Tega Cay. And we'll follow that up with some of the interesting incidents that occurred, such as the Kon-Tiki and so forth. So now we'll go into the second part of our documentary. This is the Honorable John Spratt, Congressman from the 5th Congressional District of South Carolina, to the House of Representatives. Before ending, Mr. Spratt was deeply involved in the settlement of the Catawba claim with the Indians. Mr. Spratt, you spearheaded the settlement of the Kataba Indian claim. Would you describe your involvement and the implications regarding the economic health of this area?
Well, I was involved in 3 ways. First, before I was elected to Congress, I was a named defendant. I was one of the property owners who was named in the complaint filed by the Catawbas initiating their suit. Secondly, as county attorney at that time, I was involved in orchestrating the defense to the suit by private landowners, but also by governmental entities. We put together sort of a consortium, York County, Rock Hill, Fort Mill, and Lancaster County, and together retained counsel to represent us, a firm in Boston. And because of my experience with the claim, when I was elected to Congress and took office in January of 1983, this was a matter of some concern to me. Initially, the claim was brought, not a lot of credence was given to it. It was pretty preposterous, the notion that a tribe of Indians which no longer legally existed could lay claim to 140,220 acres of land, 225 square miles, including all of Tega Cay, all of Fort Mill, all of Rock Hill, Carowinds, probably the most well-developed part of York County, and all of Indian Land Township in Lancaster County. But it quickly became apparent that this claim had some merit to it, because there were Supreme Court decisions coming out of New York State and Maine which indicated that these claims could not be scoffed at. There was something called the Indian Non-Intercourse Act of 1790, adopted when George Washington was president. In fact, it was adopted by the first Congress and a president who knew something about Indians, and the purpose was to separate white settlers from Indians so that white settlers wouldn't be poaching on Indian territory and creating problems that the militia had to come in and clean up. The Indian Non-Intercourse Act said that you could not buy land from Indians unless that transaction was ratified by Congress. In the case of South Carolina, the Kataba area was set aside to the Catawbas by the British government after the War of 1763, the French and Indian War. The Catawbas were the only one of the southern Indian tribes that had supported the British. In fact, they had sent a party of scouts to assist Washington on his route to Fort Duquesne. He recorded that in his journal. So they had a claim to some kind of remuneration after the war was successfully ended, and the British gave them a tract 15 miles square, which was surveyed off by Samuel Wiley in 1763. They had lived in this land for some time, but during the Revolution it became no man's land. This was where the new acquisition militia mustered. As a result of that, many of these men in the militia and otherwise got to know that there was land available here, and after the Revolutionary War they began an effort to acquire this land by leasehold from the Indians. As it turns out, my forebear, Thomas Spratt, was the first substantial leaseholder in this territory. He leased land from the Indians in the late 1760s and was in possession during the Revolution. But others followed his example after the Revolution, and by the turn of the century, the tribe itself was pretty well decimated by several bouts, bad epidemics of smallpox. It had never been an agricultural tribe. Really, it was more of a hunting and fishing tribe living along the river, and so they tended not to be settled over the whole tract of land that they had, and they began leasing out large parts of the territory, and it was pretty much gone by the early 1800s. There were all kinds of efforts in this area to get the state to buy the land from the Indians, and that finally culminated in the Treaty of 1840, the Treaty of Nations Ford in 1840. The state of South Carolina entered into a treaty with the Kataba Indian tribe, gave them a sum of money payable over several years, promised to buy a tract of land for them, and in return for that, the Indians ceded title to their reversionary interest in all of this property that they had leased out and anything that they had left in their possession. The problem with that treaty is it was subject to the Indian Non-Intercourse Act, which nobody seems to have heeded at the time. And for years thereafter, the Indians asserted that they had a claim that was not validly enforced. They even took it to litigation in the early 1900s. Their attorney was, after working on it for 2 or 3 years, was prepared to bring a suit, and he died. And it lost all of its momentum then. In the 1930s, the congressman from this district, Dick Richards, was very sympathetic to the Indians. He was from Lancaster County. And he began an effort to try to see that they got more than the scrubby piece of land, 640 acres, the state had given them in 1840. He obtained for them around 4,000 acres of land, which they settled upon under a memorandum of understanding. They didn't become a recognized tribe then, but they had a recognized relationship with the federal government, got some benefits from them, were settled on this piece of land. The problem was it was collectively owned and held. It couldn't be subdivided and split up among them so that people would have plots of land they could live on, mortgage and borrow against, farm, what have you. And so that led to the feeling in the tribe that they'd be better off if they partitioned the land among themselves, sold some of it in kind, took the cash and spread it out, and partitioned the rest of the land in kind. That was done in the late 1950s, early 1960s, and the tribe then was terminated completely by an act of Congress. That was the principal defense in this lawsuit, that the Kataba Indian tribe really was not a tribe because it had been terminated as a tribe and therefore didn't have the protections of the law such as the Non-Intercourse Act. This case lasted for 17 years from the time it was asserted in the mid-1970s until the time it was finally settled by an act of Congress. It went from the district court here in Rock Hill to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond to the Supreme Court, from the Supreme Court back to the court in Richmond, from the Richmond Court, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, down to the Supreme Court in Columbia, back to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, back to the Supreme Court, and then down to the District Court again for trial. It was burning up enormous amounts of time, and in the meantime, property owners in areas like Tega Cay, Fort Mill, and Rock Hill were finding their property impeded. It was difficult to sell property in some cases. If you had a single-family home in a recognized subdivision, it was not too difficult, but it was always a fuzzy cloud hanging over the property. And if you had a large undeveloped tract of land, as some of my friends and clients did, you found out that you couldn't borrow big sums of money against it because you couldn't get title insurance. One prominent case here in Rock Hill of someone who had the next big regional shopping center for Rock Hill lined up. He thought he had a title insurance commitment. The title insurance company itself didn't have adequate reserve to back up the commitment, and he lost the entire project. That was how serious the claim was. It was a real cloud upon this area for a number of years, and most people who didn't have to deal in real estate didn't quite appreciate the severity of it. We were also affected by the fact that in neighboring regions, when someone wanted to look at York County for development, for industrial location, the location experts and realtors and brokers would tell them on the sly, well, it's not clear that you can get good title in York County. They tell them about the Indian claim, and since there are plenty of other things to look at, it was an instant and easy way to turn people off this area. It was having a real impact on the development of property in York County, and Tega Cay was especially affected. Unfortunately, in the case of Tega Cay, this claim was filed and began to become binding and serious, and the suit was established at about the time interest rates were going up, and Tega Cay's original developer was having a hard time meeting its obligations under a mortgage with Chase Manhattan Real Estate Investment Trust. So the convergence of these two events, high interest rates in the mid-70s, plus the cloud on title by the Katabas, was a real problem for areas like Tega Cay. Well, when I got to Congress, I knew that only one entity, Congress, could ultimately settle this because of the amount of money it would take and because there had to be a federal law in order to finally and forever dispel this claim, settle it, cancel it forever. The problem was I was the defendant in the lawsuit. The problem also was that the original effort to negotiate a settlement had started at the local level. Local legislators, a legislative delegation, had gotten together a committee, and they had attempted to negotiate a settlement. They had a draft outline of a settlement and voted upon certain terms of it, and the vote was something like 5-4 not to go forward with the negotiations. As a result, a suit was brought, and they never got those negotiations up and going again. We had several meetings, a couple here in this office, where I urged them to see if they couldn't pick up the ball and get it moving again, but there was not a consensus there, and there was a feeling anyway that unless there are federal funds available, what we may be doing, even if we accomplish a settlement, is for naught. So finally, after 4 or 5 years, and finally after a Supreme Court decision, the first trip to the Supreme Court, telling us exactly where the parties stood, we were able to begin in earnest settlement negotiations. Until then, the Katabas could claim that they have valid title 140,000 acres, an enormous claim. After the Supreme Court decision, it was substantially whittled down. The court in effect held that if you lived continuously on this property since 1963, for 10 years continuously, you could establish a title by adverse possession. Not everybody could do that. Not everybody in Tega Cay could do that. But nevertheless, that was a defense that diminished the claim and at least got the ball back in the ballpark where we could start to negotiate. Frankly, one of the problems I had in taking up the negotiations was that I was the defendant in the lawsuit. The Supreme Court's decision pretty well eliminated any claim against me, but I had to go back, file for summary judgment, establish my position. I still had a small tract of land affected by the claim. Not all of the land that I held was free and clear. So I went to the Ethics Committee of the House and said, I've got this problem. I owe an obligation to my people in York County and Lancaster County to clear up this claim. It's a big problem. It's an expensive problem. I probably know more about it than anybody else. I'm in the best position to do something, but I have a conflict. Can you tell me how I should handle this? And the Ethics Committee, after studying the matter for some time, gave me an advisory opinion saying, you should disclose to everybody your interests, but it's been recognized often in the past that a member of Congress has an overriding, overwhelming duty to give his constituents effective representation. And in your case, your interest is such that your duty to render effective representation to your constituents overrides that and takes precedence. So you can go ahead as long as you make clear that you have something of a stake in the outcome of the case, which I did in every case, studiously, usually in writing to make it absolutely clear. So we began the negotiations. I had been in touch with the Indians' attorneys before I was elected to Congress. We renewed the contact afterwards. I knew Don Miller well. I knew that he would like to negotiate, so we broached the negotiations, sat down and began to negotiate. It soon became clear we needed some sort of formal structure, so we approached Governor Campbell. Fortunately, Governor Campbell had talked to this matter, had been talked to by someone by the name of Crawford Clarkson, a wonderful person who was a tremendous resource to us. He was the chairman of the State Tax Commission, a CPA from Columbia, a really public-spirited chap. And he had, by chance, had a conversation with one of the Kataba's lawyers from Columbia by the name of Jay Bender. Jay Bender told him all about this case. Well, the governor had to sign every year a certification to bondholders, mainly on Wall Street, New York, about South Carolina's liabilities, including its contingent liabilities, and Crawford Clarkson had to write the section that dealt with the Kataba suit. He was trying to get his hands around it, figure out how big a contingent claim it was. And as he got into it, he appreciated the gravity of it, and so he began to convince the governor that the governor himself needed to get involved in it. And I went down on Labor Day weekend in the mid-1980s and sat down with the governor. We spent about 2.5 or 3 hours that evening kind of conceptualizing how we would settle this thing. The governor was good enough to write Manny Lujan, an old colleague of his in Congress, who was the Secretary of the Interior, and solicit his participation. I'd already been in touch with him. They had said they'd participate, but it helped to have that letter from Carroll Campbell to an old colleague, Republican colleague, Manny Lujan. So Lujan at the Department of Interior agreed to send a delegate to the negotiations, and therefore we had the state, we had the federal government, we had the Indians and their lawyers, we had the local government representative with Senator Hayes, and we took it from there. It took us 5 more years to negotiate the final settlement and get it passed in Congress. It was an arduous negotiation, believe me. We used every kind of pressure and leverage we possibly could. And we continued to go through the court system. In fact, the Katabas went back to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and in effect got an adverse opinion which once again sort of sobered them up and made them realize that their claim was not as great as they were asserting. That helped us bring them back down into the range of an acceptable sum of money. They wanted $125 million. We didn't see how we could possibly get $125 million. We ultimately settled it for a little over $60 million, about half what they originally sought. And more than 2/3 of that came from the federal government, which I regarded as a bit of a coup because the federal government really had no liability or responsibility except for the fact that over the years, notwithstanding the Non-Intercourse Act, notwithstanding the pleas and complaints and inquiries from the Katabas, the federal government had done next to nothing to help their case. In fact, it had seen to the passage of legislation which inadvertently, in the 1960s, almost wiped out their case. So we had a good, equitable claim against the federal government for malfeasance of the Katabas' affairs when the government stood in a trust relationship with them. And we were able to use that argument to extract money from the federal government. Ultimately, I was able to settle it because I helped put through the Clinton budget in 1993, not a popular budget around here because of the tax increases, frankly, but had it not been for my key assistance in helping Leon Panetta, who was then at OMB, put that budget together, I never would have gotten the money commitment out of Leon Panetta to put up the federal share of the settlement. I'll tell a little story about Tega Cay. We were trying to get money from every possible source to settle it. Duke Power Company had a great interest in settling it because it had so much land owned by Crescent Land and Timber Corporation, ripe for development with this big cloud on it. That's a good example of how bad it was when Duke didn't have a cloud to clear the cloud and couldn't develop property. That tells you how serious a claim this was. Where Duke said, to get rid of this nuisance, we'll put up $500,000. If other people will match it, we'll put up $500,000 in matching money. And we'll throw in another $500,000 of our own money towards the settlement. One of the entities that we thought should pay something were the title insurance companies. When Tega Cay was developed, the developers had the foresight to obtain title insurance from the Chicago Title Insurance Company, and I believe everybody who bought one of the original lots got a title insurance policy from Chicago. We wrote Chicago, reminded them of this. They took pretty much of a stonewall position. We then got the Duke Power Company to write their title insurance company. As a result of the Carowinds claim, they had an interest in the Carowinds land for Crescent, and tell them that if they didn't settle this suit, and if they lost more than their coverage, they would sue them for the difference. We got the Tega Cay Town Council to do the same thing. I drafted the letter, as a matter of fact. We sent it to the title insurance companies, and it said, if we lose more than our coverage on this property, we're going to sue you for neglect and negligence in the settlement of the lawsuit, which you had an obligation to provide us a defense in. That got the attention of the title insurance companies. I met with them at the Sheraton Hotel all of one day. About 2 months later, and we got $1,700,000 out of them ultimately. That was the way we settled it, put the pool together. We went to the counties, we went to the state, we went to private entities, got out and raised the money, literally put a campaign fundraising effort together here in my office, and went out and raised over $1 million in private sector contributions to put the pot together. It took 5 years of my time to do it, but I have to say it was one of the most gratifying achievements of my own career. Partly because my forebear, Thomas Spratt, had been one of the original settlers. I was glad to bring this to what I thought was an equitable and fair conclusion. I think old Thomas Glennon Spratt would have been pretty proud of it too.
I thank you, Mr. Spratt, for your full description of the Kataba Indian case. It'll help out our history of Tega Cay no end. Thank you. In order to understand the development of Tega Cay, we have to go back to the development of Lake Wylie in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It seems that there was a surgeon by the name of Dr. Wylie, who was a resident of Chester in South Carolina, and he moved to New York City and had his practice in New York City for many years. He became a rather well-known surgeon. He had previously gotten an engineering degree before he got into surgery, and so he had that as his background. Having been a successful surgeon, he developed an interest in using some of his money in order to further hydroelectric power in South Carolina and the environs. And so he, along with his brother, who is R.H. Wylie, pooled the money and came down to Catawba River, which ran a long distance and had a good fall as far as the depth of water was concerned, and what looked to be an ideal place to develop a hydroelectric plant. We also have to go back to the time frame when this was occurring at the end of the 19th century. Electric power had just been developed, and so there was a need for power generation. Dr. Wylie had some interest in this area because of his upbringing, but he also had probed around to find out what the ideal spots were for developing somewhat of a hydroelectric plant, and it turns out that there is a place
very close to Tega Cay, and it's called India Hook Shoals. And actually India Hook Shoals is in the location of what we know as the dam as it exists right now, which has created Lake Wylie. So he and his brother pooled their money, got some loans, and started to build a dam at India Hook Shoals. And this was starting in 1899. Actually, he got the charter to do it from the state of South Carolina in 1900. There were a number of difficulties, as in any project of this type, and amongst them there was some floods in the early 1900s, 1901 and 1902, I think, and so progress was rather slow. But by 1903, he hired a man, an engineer by the name of States Lee. And States Lee was able to put the project together and able to develop the dam and complete it by the early part of 1904. I want to stop for a second and show you a picture of the dam that was built at that time, and also show you a picture of the follow-on dam which was built over the same site a number of years later, actually in 1925. So let's visit now with the picture of the dam. Now here's a picture of the original dam right here in the powerhouse as it was built in 1904. It was called the Kataba Power Station, and this existed until 1925 when it was modified, and I'll move over and show you what it looks like after 1925 and actually to this date. Here is today's version of the plant. The walls are still the same. You got the station moved, actually the power station moved over, and you can see in the background over here in this area is Tega Cay, completely undeveloped, and this is the year 1925 when the modern station was built over the top of the original one. So now we're in 1904. The Kataba Power Station is in operation, and the power went from the Kataba Station, the first outlet went from the Kataba Station to the Victoria Cotton Mill in Rock Hill. Presumably that was direct current, but I don't know that as a fact. But from there on, the power stations along the Catawba River started to develop. We then move into, well, how did it develop? How did they expand? Well, it's an interesting story about how Dr. Wylie, after he had completed this plant, the Catawba plant, operated on a Mr. Duke. As a matter of fact, it was Benjamin Duke that he operated on in New York for appendicitis. And in the process of Benjamin Duke and his brother, who was J.B. Duke, came up and they got interested in what Dr. Wylie was doing, and after certain negotiations, they agreed to form a Southern Power Station to take the place of the original Catawba Power Station. And Dr. Wylie and his brother provided the plant that existed as their cash input, and Mr. Duke provided several $1 million in order to start to expand on the power plants along the Catawba River, the Catawba station being really one of the first ones. And this power company, this continued in existence under the leadership of Dr. Wiley, who was the president of the Southern Power Station, until 1910, when Mr. J.B. Duke succeeded Dr. Wiley as the president of Southern Power. From then, Southern Power continued to develop and expand along the Catawba River, and in 1927 it became the Duke Power Company. It was later on in 1960, the lake, which was known at that time as Catawba Lake, was changed to be called Lake Wiley in honor of Dr. Wiley, whose idea it was to form the lake in the first place. And so it exists today as Lake Wiley. Now, Tega Cay comes into this because in the process of expanding on the power stations along the Catawba River and now Lake Wiley, the Duke Power Company purchased a lot of property, and in order to expand its transmission facilities and the like, but it got into the private property business, and in 1969 developed the Crescent Land and Timber Company, which took over all of the the land resources that Duke Power had accumulated in the meantime. A part of what they had accumulated is what is now Tega Cay. And this came about, the Tega Cay development came about when Duke Power got together with a developer by the name of Irwin, and the Crescent Land and Timber Company formed a partnership with the Irwin Corporation, and the land, which is now Tega Cay, was provided by the Crescent Land and Timber Company as their part. A year or so later, after this partnership was formed, the Crescent Land and Timber Company backed out of the partnership and left the land, which is now Tega Cay, in the hands of Mr. Irwin. So that's a story of how the Irwin Corporation got the land in order to develop what is now Tega Cay. So that's the story, and we'll go on from here with other parts of this commentary. This is Barbara Oswald, whose ex-husband was Jerry Harris, who was president of the Irwin Company at the time when Tega Cay was formed. She has a lot of experience in the early stages of Tega Cay. Would you tell me, Barbara, how the idea of Tega Cay came about?
Well, I think before we can understand how Tega Cay came about, we'd have to understand why it came about. And to do that, I would have to tell you a little bit about our family at the time. Good. And a vacation that we planned. We have 6 children, and at the time they were all under the age of 10 years old, and we wanted a vacation one summer. And one child would want someplace to go where we could swim, and the others would want to go where they could play tennis, and the others would want to go where they could play golf. And everybody had all the different things they wanted to do. And we were perplexed as to how we were going to get all this and one family vacation.
Now this time frame was in the 60s?
This was in the, yes, late 60s.
Like the 1967 or thereabouts?
Right, right.
Okay.
So we settled on a family camping trip and decided that would be the answer for all of these things that we wanted to do. So we loaded up the station wagon with all the children and all the paraphernalia, and we headed out to the campgrounds in South Carolina, down around Myrtle Beach at the time. It truly proved to be a disastrous vacation.
And how many children did you have?
This is 6 children and the babysitter and the 2 parents.
Wow.
All of us novices with camping, so not the brightest idea, I'm afraid.
Well, you have to try things, you know, see how they work out.
So we did. We went camping and everybody had a chance to do the things they wanted to do. And then it came time to come back home, and we loaded the station wagon again, and the top was loaded, the inside was loaded, and we get ready to drive out. And this is after it had rained the night before, and then we have a flat tire and have to unload the car, change the tire, start all over again. So all the way home, I think I was a little bit less than happy, and I told my ex-husband, I said, there has got to be a better way for a family to have a vacation and to be able to swim and play golf and tennis and all these fun things without having to go through all this trouble to pack up and leave home. Why can't we have this at home? And I really did not think that was going to make an impression on him. But apparently it did, because when he got back to work at the Irving Company and he began to look around and think about this idea, he found out there was this land that Crescent Land and Timber had, and the Irving Company began to negotiate, and he did the negotiation, and therefore the land was found, and they decided this would be the ideal place for families to live, to have a vacation type life and still not have to have the hassle of leaving.
So by that time the Irving Company and the Crescent Land and Timber Company had formed a partnership, and the partnership had obtained the land from the Crescent Land and Timber Company before the partnership was consummated, and you went on from there with the joint ownership of what is now Tega Cay by the Irving Company and the Crescent Land and Timber Company. All right, repeating a little bit here, but the property had been purchased, and then you were trying to decide how to develop it, I presume. So what happened next? I know your ex-husband had some ideas about what the property should be like, but how did you go about getting the name of Tega Cay?
Well, at the time we were in that negotiation, we also took a trip to the Caribbean, and we were really impressed with the pretty names in the Caribbean, the names of islands and the names of the different places that we went. And we kept talking to the people there about how pretty this land and on the water was back at home. And we would talk about how pretty the peninsula was. And people would say, oh, peninsula. And they related that to the Polynesian name, which is Tega Cay, meaning pretty peninsula.
Mm-hmm.
So that...
I guess technically it's beautiful peninsula.
Beautiful, yeah,
right.
Technically right. Beautiful peninsula. So that basically is how it came about.
So you picked out the name of Tega Cay when you were in the Caribbean, and you were then you had it named. And what was the next step? There are an awful lot of streets around here that have Polynesian names too.
Right, and that was another trip that we took, which was to Hawaii. And there again we saw pretty names and streets and islands, and I thought, gee whiz, that would fit in real well with the area of Tega Cay and the idea of Tega Cay. So that's how we got so many of those names for the streets out here.
Like Molokai and Marquesas?
Molokai and, and Palmyra. When we were talking about naming the streets, and it was sort of a family thing sitting around, how do you name the main street coming in? And all the children said, oh, let's name it for us. Let's name it Harris Road or Harris Street. But my husband and I did not think that was right. Tega Cay was for all of the people. It wasn't just for, or should not single out just the one family or one person. So we wanted it to be something that everybody could feel a part of.
Well, that was really the start, I guess, of not naming things around Tega Cay for individual people, except in exceptional cases. And it's a good idea. It stemmed from you not naming what is now Tega Cay Drive, Harris Boulevard.
Yeah.
And I think that's very good. So you had it named, had the streets named, and this was in the early 70s, was it?
Right, correct.
In the early 70s. And so the development went on from there. Now I understand that your ex-husband had some ideas about how Tega Cay should end up. Would you tell me a little bit about how he developed those ideas and what he did to record them, if he ever did?
And are you saying maybe how he sold it, how he...
No, how he laid it out. He had some ideas about where the clubhouse was and things like that.
He wanted everything to be so family oriented. And again, we were just sort of like the idea of what would suit our family would certainly suit all the others with as many children as we had. So we needed to be sure we had a swimming pool and a golf course and the clubhouse and the church and things like that. But for the safety of the children and people getting to and from places, so as not to have to be on the street doing this, he planned and wanted to have biking and hiking trails so that you could get to any part of Tega Cay or any area safely without actually having to go on the road.
So he had quite a vision of what Tega Cay should be, and being the owner of the company, the developer, he could implement those, and I guess he started to do that.
Yes, and money unfortunately became a problem.
Yeah.
And you can't always do everything you'd like, but we knew we needed to have daycare and all the facilities that a family would need without having to leave. Everything should be so compact that you really didn't have to leave.
So you had a good idea of what it should be like and what amenities should be here, and unfortunately money got in the way a little bit, didn't it?
It did.
And ultimately the urban company did go bankrupt later in the 1970s.
Right. Yeah.
Well, going back to the early stages of what is now was Tega Cay, would you tell me what was done to market Tega Cay, some of the things that were done to attract people to the area? Because you develop something, you got to sell the property.
Correct, yeah. Well, everything was done that could be done, and it was fun doing it because we would have Coke stands all throughout the area and shuttle buses that would meet people as they came into the area, park up at the entrance and get out of your car, get on a shuttle bus, and a salesman would take you through and talk you through the community and explain it all to you, showing you all the layout and the plans while you ate your cookies and drank your Cokes. And we had the child care system that was free, so you could leave your children while you leisurely looked around for the area.
I understand that there were some cottages that were set aside to where people could stay when they were looking over the property.
Exactly, yes. Out-of-towners would come in and need to have a place, and that was the provision that we made for them.
Now those cottages, I understand, were around Catamaran,
yes,
in that area?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There were other things you did. I understand that there was a barge called
Kiki, yes. That was fun.
Everybody smiles when you say Kiki. It must have been a fun thing.
It was fun. It really was. It was a big, beautiful houseboat. We'd get it full of people, and Captain Carroll would be on it and go up and down the lake, and there again have a commentary as you would see the shoreline and all of the property from the water. A wonderful, wonderful way to sell the water and the land. Lots of parties on there used by the people to show the land and to try to sell, as well as to let other companies come in and use the facility.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good, fun place.
Yeah. I guess there were other things that you did, but little things mean an awful lot to people who are coming in, and obviously you were showing them around all the time and treating them as a good host and hostesses would.
You did, and you know, so many people would end up coming to Tega Cay to visit and stay overnight or just drop by, and they fell in love with it. You either like Tega Cay or you don't. It's just not for everybody, but for those who are looking for this kind of lifestyle, it's ideal. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Well, Barbara, you've given me a good background on the early days of Tega Cay, how it got its name, and it's fascinating that I've found the person who picked out the name. And I appreciate your giving me your time, and I know that people who are in Tega Cay will be interested to know what you've said.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. This is Hans Gada, who is a longtime resident of Tega Cay. He came to Tega. He started buying his house in Tega Cay in 1970, and we believe he was the first resident of Tega Cay. He lives on Marquesas Avenue. Would you tell me, Hans, when you bought your home and what the process was like in you buying the home?
Well, I mean, the process was fairly simple, just like buying a home anyplace else.
Mm-hmm.
You sign a contract with the urban company who owned the place then, and
in the process of marketing the house, there was a fellow named Heine, was there?
Yeah, Jim Heine.
Jim Heine, and
was a sales manager for the urban company.
Yeah, and he brought you out to Tega Cay to show you some property.
No, I met him in Tega Cay the first time I came. I heard about it.
Yeah.
And came out.
Yeah. and so, but he brought you out to look at the property.
He showed me some properties, you know, first on the map in the sales office, and then out in the field. And that's the way I like the place, you know. I mean, he explained what it looks like, would look like when it's finished and built out, and so I was sold on the idea of moving out here on the lake.
Yeah. Now this, the house, the property that he showed you was off the Manila Bay Marquesas.
Well, the first property he showed me was down at Manila Bay Lane.
Yeah.
And that was lot number 45. And but it was almost impossible to go down there. That was just a little dirt trail coming off Tega Cay Drive, of my cases. And
but so it was all wooded then, and
it was all wooded, and
but
you know, and
it overlooked the water.
It overlooked the water. It was a beautiful waterfront lot, and but he said that it probably take another year before they could build a home down there.
Yeah. So then he showed you something.
So I sold my house in Charlotte, and I had to move one way or the other. I told Jim I gotta have a home one way or another to move into. What do you have? And well, he said, I have a spec home in Marquesas Avenue, which is complete, and you could move in if you want to buy it. So he showed me the house, and I liked it. It had no water and no sewage connection at the time. He said, well, that's no problem. We put you a septic tank in the yard, and we put a tank outside, you know, fill it up with water twice a week. And so, you know, that's about all you need. You get electricity in the house, and that's it. Anyway, I bought the house, and in May of 1971, I was ready to move in.
Good. Okay, so then you moved into a newly developed community, but as time went on, there were a few other people who came in and bought homes.
Oh yeah, then I mean, people starting to trickle in, you know, here and there. You know, I mean, one in this section, one in section 1, one in section 2, and 3, and you know, and scattered all over the place.
Yeah. So then there were a group of people, and I understand they formed a property owners association.
Yeah.
When they got this group of people.
Right.
And what did they tag you with in the property owners association? What job?
Well, I had no idea what they were talking about. You know, then they tried to form a property owners association with about 10 or 12 property owners in the whole development. And anyway, I can't remember how that went, and but eventually they formed an association.
Yeah, but then they gave you a job as what is it, architectural review?
Right. Well, that didn't come from the property owners association. That again that idea came from Jim Heine, who asked me if I would be willing to serve on the architectural review committee
for Tega Cay.
For Tega Cay.
Yeah.
And so I agreed and said, yeah, you know, I'd be willing to do that.
But you really were responsive to the Property Owners Association.
Right, right.
And so you were the representative from Property Owners Association, and they had how many on their board? They have 3 members of the Architectural Review Committee on from the
Urban Company. They had 3, and myself for the Property Owners Association. That makes 4.
Yeah, and so you had a vote, but only a minority vote, really. But you were able to get your views, the property owners' views into it.
I was able to get my views across and my objection to something, and sometimes they listened to it, and sometimes I was voted down, and you know, that's the way that.
Yeah. What were some of the things that you were looking for in the architectural review of the homes that were going up, like the roofs, or?
Well, the compliance with the building codes, and with the I mean, that the houses were built according to specifications.
Okay, they had a set of specifications.
They had a set of specifications.
And obviously they were selling homes to people based upon the specifications, and you wanted to make sure that they complied. So that was your job. And
we had, well, you know, I mean, in those days, people came to us and asked if they could have a conventional roofing rather than cedar shingles, and that was in those days absolutely no-no, because that was one of the selling points, that every house had to have cedar shingles, because it was supposed to be a Polynesian theme out here.
Yeah. But, so you held on to this job for a couple of years?
Yeah, a year and a half. 2
years.
And then it became too much, you know, and it interfered with my regular job.
Yeah.
And I gave it up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move over to a map and show the area that you've told me you used as a review map. In other words, this map showed all the homes on it, and as time went on, you marked off the ones that you reviewed from an architectural point of view. So we're going to go over to that map now. Now, Hans, this is a map of Tega Cay, and he's going to point out the ones that he reviewed for architectural conformity.
Well, all the lots which are marked in red are finished houses which were released and okayed by the Architectural Review Committee. The ones in black are the ones still under construction, and they had to be reviewed.
Well, it looks to me like you have approximately 20 to 30 houses that you've already reviewed, and just as many more that were being constructed.
Right.
So it was quite a job that you had.
And this was an ongoing thing, you know. I mean, they filled in those lots practically faster than we could review them, because we only met once a week. And in the course of a day, how many sites could you inspect?
Okay, so it was a big job. So we'll go on to the rest of our talk here. Now, as time went on, the city was built up. An important part of the city was what is now City Hall. Would you tell me something about what the structure was like when it first started and where it was located?
Well, I mean, the structure was basically the same, except it was only half enclosed and half open. And on the right side of it, it had a big open fireplace.
This is the right side, looking at it.
The right side, looking at it from the front. On the right side, which was open, they had a big open fireplace, and with benches all the way around where people could sit for a picnic. It was, I mean, the whole building was built as a big gazebo. So, you know, people could gather there for a picnic, or just relaxation.
Yeah. So that was there for a while, and then after a while, I understand they turned it into a store. Is that?
Yeah, and then it became was taken over by a 7-Eleven, and they removed the fireplace and then closed the right section, and the left section of the house became the 7-Eleven.
I see. Okay, then later on the 7-Eleven folded and they turned it into a city hall.
Right.
And so that's sort of an ongoing story. The city hall is in the same location as that building even today. All right, now there was, will you tell me something about the roads around Tega Cay when you were living here early on? Dirt, cement, or whatever. What was the structure of the whole of the roads?
Well, I mean, in the early days, we had nothing but dirt roads from the entrance to the far end of every section. And when it rained, it was just one big mud hole everywhere. I mean, you know, you could slip and slide through there. And
understand you got bogged down there.
No, I got bogged down there several times. You know, at the steep curve where you turn off the Windjammer, and all the rainwater ran down there, and all the mud from the adjacent hill and collected in that area.
So it was sort of a necessity in time for them to pave the roads, and I guess that didn't happen for another year or two.
It didn't happen for about another year.
Yeah.
When I moved into my home, there was no telephone. When I had to use a telephone, for some reason or another, I had to go to the guardhouse up front to use their telephone. And in the evening, every once in a while, one of the guards came by and checked on me and said if I needed something or if everything is all right. Well, we had a lot of wild dogs running around here.
Yeah.
And after a while they get out of hand. And they organized a dog hunt one day. And I think they shot about every dog in sight.
Yeah. Now these are people from in Tega Cay or from outside? From
Tega Cay.
In Tega Cay, and so.
I mean, this was organized by the company.
Oh, I see.
To get rid of the wild dogs.
Yeah.
Which roamed around here, and I had a little terrier which was ripped apart one day by some of those wild dogs outside.
Wow. So they really were wild.
They were wild and vicious.
Yeah. So you tamed the place a little bit that way. So anyway, finally the roads were paved and
then we finally get some water lines laid down, and they installed some sewage lines too. And in the meantime, I had a septic tank buried in the yard as an interim solution, and I had big water tank outside on the right side of the home, which the oven company filled up twice a week.
So you didn't have a well, you had just a tank?
I just had a tank. It was, it filled up with water. I mean, a big tank.
Yeah. So this went on for a year or so?
And that went on for about a year.
Yeah. So it was real primitive living early on.
Fairly primitive, yes.
All right. Would you tell me something about Windjammer Park? I understand that was an important part of Tega Cay even early on.
Oh, Windjammer Park was open from early on, and it wasn't something like it is today. It was just a point way out there with tall trees, and they put some what they call tikis around.
These are the Polynesian...
Those are the Polynesian Easter Island type of figures.
They were like the ones at Easter Island.
Right. And I don't know what purpose they served. They were just
Polynesian
sort of interesting to look at.
Yeah. But anyway, they did do some swimming out at Windjammer, didn't
Oh
they?
yeah, you could do some swimming down there. But it took a while before they established the beach by trucking some sand in. And So all this took a while, you know, step by step.
Yeah, and this period we're talking about is up to about 1973 and 74.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Would you tell me something about the golf course? I mean, the clubhouse now. What was there initially? The clubhouse wasn't there, so.
Well, the clubhouse wasn't there. Where the clubhouse stands now at the highest point, they had the so-called observation tower. A big wooden structure which, you know, ladders that go up. And about, I don't know how tall this thing was, about 40 feet, 50 feet up in the air.
What was the purpose of this? Of this tower? Was it for, you know, people to look out?
For people, I mean, there was a sort of an instruction or information map on the glass up there that showed different points in Tega Cay and where everything is going to be in the future. So
was it, in other words, it's what part of the sales pitch?
It was part of the sales pitch, you know.
And some of the golf at that stage, some of the golf holes were in. I mean, they were being constructed. Is that right?
Right.
Being constructed. Yeah.
And after they started, I mean, before they started building the clubhouse, they had to move the observation tower. And they moved the observation tower in a location down on Tega Cay Drive, where the city now keeps the wood chips piled up. Remember that little area?
Well, is it near the maintenance shack?
Yeah, a little farther down, you know.
Oh yes, there's an area along Tega Cay Drive where in the last few years he used to put trash before it went out to the real dump.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It was on the right-hand side.
On the right-hand side.
Yeah.
A little paved area. And that's where they moved the observation tower. And it was standing there for several years.
Yeah. Now that was
until it became too deteriorated, you know, and unsafe for people to climb on it.
Yeah. That was one of the sales vehicles that the Urban Company used, and I understand there was another one, the Kiki. Could you tell me a little bit about the Kikis in your recollection?
Well, the Kiki was another one of those sales pitches, you know, for Tega Cay. It was practically a big floating dining room with kitchens and a big observation deck on top. And they built the Kiki originally down at the parking lot of the Church of the Day. I mean, not complete, but
the deck.
But the basic hull was built on dry land there, and then it was moved down to the
Hidden Harbor Marina.
Hidden Harbor Marina, and put in the water and finished and furbished, you know.
And it operated, I guess, out of there for several years.
And then it was moved over to the existing marina.
Oh, and operated out of there.
And operated out of there.
Yeah. Well, you've given me a good story of what Tega Cay was like in the early days from the earliest settler, I guess, and I appreciate this. And for the people who are looking at the history of Tega Cay, this will be an important sector of it.
Well, thank you very much.
One of the first residents of Tega Cay, he knows what Tega Cay was like at its inception. And Harry, why'd you move to Tega Cay?
Well, I had a wife and 3 children and a baby, and we were looking for a nice recreational community. And we felt that when we went out here and looked at Tega Cay, that was a place we'd like to live. We originally bought a lot, actually right here, down the road here, right off of Windward. But later on, we changed our mind and bought a home that had already been built out here on Point Clear Drive, and we moved in. We loved it. It was a two-modular home with a large fireplace in the center and a deck across the back, and it was just beautiful, wooded area, lovely place to be, close to the lake. We loved the school system, felt very comfortable here, and when we first moved in, they said they had water and sewer, but they did not have that. We had to have a 100 dairy truck. I would deliver water 3 times a week. Of course, we had a baby who at that time had a lot of diapers, and we had a septic tank in the backyard.
How many children did you have at this time?
4 children.
4 children at the time, and with a baby there.
That's
and
right.
Did you have a dog?
Had a dog, a large dog. We had a large German Shepherd dog who moved in with us, and of course they could roam free out here at that time. We were, like I said, one of the original residents, and my understanding is there were 2 other residents who moved in that same weekend in different areas. But the urban company had been very nice to us. They had nice, set up parties for us. Also had a recreational director. We had been on the Kon-Tiki boat. We had.
Yeah, the Kon-Tiki must have really been something. I hear from all Ambrose who helped to build it, and Toby Latham who went out in it as, I guess, a sort of a semi-engineer. And he tells some very nice stories about the fine parties had. So you did participate in those.
Oh, certainly did. I loved that. We really had a good time. They even had nice parties at the clubhouse. I recall 2 in particular. One of them was the Duke Ellington band had come to see us. Had come out to play for us, and it was one of the grandest nights I've ever been to. The other fine time was when they dedicated the clubhouse at Tega Cay. We had the Lieutenant Governor come in, had a beautiful luau, was put out, and everybody had a wonderful time. And it was very, exciting at the time. I can't say anything more about Tega Cay than it is a great recreational community. It's a good place for families to grow up in, even through all the trials and tribulations that Tega Cay has gone through, becoming an area where you're secure through just having a security guard at the gate and feeling protected, to a city which still has the police station that close to the entrance there. It has been a wonderful place to grow up for my children. They've all grown up.
Having a lot of children, what did you feel about the education system? Was that a drawing card when you came out here?
It certainly was. We looked at the 4-bill system at the time. It was at least in the same category, in my opinion, as some of the schools in Charlotte. They had support from the Springs Foundation, and they did a wonderful job, had excellent teaching, and all my kids grew up and actually had gone to college, so I can't say any more better than that about the system.
Yeah, you participated in the city activities on some of the boards, didn't you?
Yes, I was on the Planning and Zoning Board for about 7 years. We went through a lot of trials and tribulations with the different developers at that time. It was, at the time we were talking about curbs and gutters for everybody out here, and be sure and watch the setbacks, and of course waterfront lots. Watch a waterfront lot. We went through a lot of that, I tell you.
Yeah, they even had a spoof when the new road was coming in, and the trees were coming down, and they needed money for the trees. They had a spoof of satire for the club, and I understand that part of the satire had to do with somebody shoveling dirt to create another waterfront piece of property.
That's right. Yeah, it was quite a elaborate situation there, because we had an awful lot of cases where you have areas where really called used to call close to the waterfront. Green areas is what it was called, and a lot of people wanted that as their property for making sure it was waterfront, and we had a lot of cases to solve those problems.
Yeah, I guess there were a lot of cases that had to be handled with a new city. All those problems come up, but
yes.
It seems like well, you and the zoning commission, you really experienced that firsthand, didn't you?
Oh, we certainly did. We had lots of meetings and lots of public hearings, and went through that for 7 years.
You were, I understand, you were president of the Lions Club too.
That's correct. I've spent I think 20 years now in the Lions Club, and it's one of the best things that Tega Cay had. They did a lot for their youth out here, did a lot for the blind people, and we've helped this community as best we can, and actually cleaned up parks. We've done a lot of things out here to help Tega Cay become the place it is.
Yeah, a lot of fine volunteers in the Lions Club, I know. Tell me what you observed as the city grew. Did you see improvements or?
Well, when I first moved out here, there was Tega Cay Drive, and there was Windward Drive. Windward Drive, which went into Point Clear, and that was about the only paved roads that I recall at the time. Of course, the road going by the clubhouse, Malachi, was done to a point at that time also. But when we first came out to look, to buy the lot, we actually came in a Jeep. They had to bring us in with a Jeep to show us where the lot was and explain where everything was, and that sounded great at the time, and we did buy the lot, but eventually we transferred the lot back and bought the home.
Yeah. Well, you've had a lot of experience, you have a lot of background. I'm glad you've been able to share this with us, and so we can put it in the history of Tega Cay. As one of the first residents, we wanted to get your impressions and recollections. This is Bud and Connie Iwinski. They're longtime residents of Tega Cay, arrived in the early 1970s, and they're going to describe to us what Tega Cay was like at that time.
Okay, as Phil said, we came here in 1970. I had been transferred here by my company, looking for a central place to live, and came out with one of my salesmen who had heard about Tega Cay. We came out actually as a joint business curiosity call. At the time we came, there was no paved roads. Most of the roads, or central roads, were carved out between, I guess it would be the first four sections, 1, 2, 3, and 4. As they are now, it's basically Tega Cay Drive, Windward, Molokai, and Point Clear would pretty much cover that area. All these roads were just gravelled, graded out. The lots were all marked and so forth. There was a sales office right at the beginning. That's the old building now that's going to be torn down right by the entrance. There was some general offices and maintenance buildings where the Tega Cay Chamber of Commerce is now. The clubhouse was not there. Now this was in 1970. At that time, they had not started building any homes that I can think about, but shortly thereafter, the urban companies started developing a few. We actually moved over in February of that year, contacted a builder, and started building in the spring. At that time, there was probably a dozen to 15, maybe as many as 20 homes under construction, 1 or 2 completed. The first residents, Mr. Harry Thacker and Hans Gada and Don Neal, were probably the first 3. We were like 12th, 13th, or 14th residents. We got in just after they had connected the sewers. The homes before us had holding tanks, I guess would be the word to describe them, that were pumped and so forth at a periodic basis. However, there was water. The telephones were the lines were temporarily strung in the trees. There were 10-party lines. If it rained or any bad weather or so forth, there would be no telephones. And being 10-party lines, it was hard to get a line at any time, really.
Connie, where did you shop under these circumstances?
Well, I did everything in Rock Hill, banking and shopping, or Charlotte.
Yeah.
So there was nothing here. No
So
place to.
you had about a 15 or 20 minute trip over to Rock Hill at least to do your shopping. Did that impact you very much? I mean,
Not really. I just make my list and then go out and do it, and I just couldn't wait to get back and come through these gates, and I always felt so safe.
Yeah. But you were talking about the clubhouse a little bit. clubhouse was being built at that time?
When I first remember the clubhouse, just a clearing up there on top of the hill with stacks of lumber and building materials around with big pictures on like billboards saying this is what's going to be here.
Yeah.
And actually, I think the swimming pool opened a little while before the clubhouse did.
And this was in about 1971?
71 and early 72.
Early 72.
Right.
So the amenities package was being developed at that time.
The golf course, there was, while our house was under construction, they opened the first 9 holes, which were pretty rough at that time, which like any new golf course would be. However, they did a good job, and but it was quite rare when you would be allowed to take a golf cart out on it because of the muddy conditions. Of course, there was no paths, so you could carry your clubs or pull a cart.
Well, you've given me a good description of what it was like in the early 70s, and I sure do appreciate both you, Connie, and Bud. So.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to say, too, I remember this, and this is quite a thing. Behind this, where the foundation for the clubhouse was they had a huge lookout tower. And everybody always climbed that to survey the acreage, and it was just a beautiful sight, you know.
Yeah.
This is Aaron Head, who was a longtime resident of Tega Cay. He came to Tega Cay in the early 70s and joined the security force there. He has a lot of the background of what went on in the security force in the early days, and also the police force. And he was with the police force until he retired in 1991. All right, Aaron, would you tell me something about what the security force was like when you joined the security force at Tega Cay?
Yes, that was a pretty good outfit. We had about 12 men, and we patrolled the streets, checked houses, checked the clubhouse, closed the clubhouse up when everybody left, took care of the parks to be sure that nobody tear nothing up. We had a good time. At least I did.
What size force did you have? I mean, how many?
We had 12 men.
12 men?
Yeah.
And you had how about the carts, the cars? Did you have
Well, at first we had one Jeep.
One Jeep?
Yeah.
That's not
you
very...
couldn't,
I guess a Jeep was okay, though.
You couldn't drive a car around Tega Cay.
Yeah.
Not when I first started up there. Well, all the streets were muddy.
Oh.
So there wasn't no paved streets.
Yeah.
And Tega Cay Drive was muddy. And the whole place was muddy.
Yeah.
And,
so the vehicle was, the Jeep was really the vehicle that...
Oh, yes, sir. If we hadn't had it, we couldn't have done no patrol.
And a little while later, you picked up some cars.
Yeah, picked up 2, and they put blue lights on them, radios in them, and all of that.
And that was...
We was just exactly like a police force.
Yeah, and while you were the security force.
Yes, sir. And we had arrest powers.
Yeah.
And we could write state tickets and all that stuff. And we never really had no bad problems in Tega Cay.
Yeah. Tell me something about, there was a guard shack at the entrance to Tega Cay, I know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you're familiar with it. How about tell me a little bit about life in the guard shack?
Sitting right in the middle of the road, and we had one dispatcher and one officer almost sit in that place all the time. We had to check cars in and out, write down where they was going, who they was visiting, and took care of that. And
it looked to me like it was awful small space.
When we first started, people just drive by, poo, poo, you know this?
Yeah.
And I got Bill Hargrove, he was in charge.
Yeah.
And I asked Bill Hargrove, would he have 2 speed bumps put out there, you know, one over here and one over there.
Yeah.
So the people have to slow down.
Yeah. Was Bill Hargrove there early on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right at the beginning, yeah. And so anyway, did he put the speed bumps there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sure
so
did.
Slowed them up.
Oh yeah.
And but even so, that guard shack seemed like an awful small space.
It was small, but we made out with it.
Yeah, enough. And so you had one person on either side checking in and checking out.
See, we had a security officer sitting there, and a dispatcher sitting overhead on the left. And we checked traffic in and out, and if anybody run past and not stop, the security officer would go stop them, find out where they were going.
Yeah, I see.
We kept track of everybody.
Yeah. Tell me, as time went on, the city became incorporated and became the city of Tega Cay, and what happened then?
No, that's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why? What happened?
Well, they hired me for the police department, and I was getting on up in age, and if it hadn't been for the good people there, and Tony Teruli mostly, he was the mayor then.
Mm-hmm.
They hired me, and I went to the police academy. I came back, and I enjoyed working there. All the time I was working there.
Yeah.
And when it come time for me to leave there, I hated to leave.
But tell me a little bit about why it was they were so good to you as far as.
I don't have no idea unless it's the way I was running my job.
Yeah, but what benefit did you get? I mean, as far as when they hired you, you said it's the best thing that ever happened.
When they put me on the police force, yeah.
They put you on the police force, and then
yeah, money-wise too.
Money-wise, they gave you the years of credit that you had.
And they give me all of my from 70 to 81 or 82. They give me my seniority.
Oh, that's important.
And that's how come I was able to retire from the police department.
Well, after all, you'd been working there for 10 years, and it might as well have been a police force when you're on the security force.
Same thing. Same thing.
So you left and retired in '91.
Yes, sir.
Now, while you were at Tega Cay, either in the security force or on the police force, you must have had some interesting experiences. I understand that you were pretty good with the kids.
Oh Lord, I loved them to death.
Yeah.
Love them to death.
Tell me how you treated, how you handle incidents. Obviously, kids get in trouble from time to time. How about tell me something?
Well, there's some of them kids that get in trouble. You get down there and talk to them, hug their neck, talk to them like somebody, and be nice to them. They was always nice to me. And anytime anything happened, one of them would tell me what happened and who done it. And that's how come I got so many cases closed.
Yeah.
On account of the kids.
Yeah.
And
you mean you got the things so it's settled, so you didn't have you didn't have to go to court and all that?
No.
How about there was an incident of a couple of kids, and don't name names, of course. A couple of kids who stole some things. And, and I think it's a neat way of handling incidents like this.
Yeah, well, I found 2 items that were stole out of the man's house. Was laying out in the grass. And I figured it was a house, you know, pretty close. And I found out who lived there. I went by and talked to Mom and Daddy. And the little boy, bless his heart, he owned up to it and told me who the other one was. So I went by and got the preacher, took the preacher down there with me, and we had a meeting in the people's living room, and got all of the stuff back, took it back to the house, and everything was all right. And as far as I know, that little fella never did get in any more trouble.
Yeah, that's good way, a good, a good lesson rather
And
than getting
right
into
today,
the system.
I'd love to see him. He's grown and married, got a family. And a bunch of them that I knew up there as kids had grown and married. You take Sonny Heiss and two little boys. I growed up with them. You know, they growed up with me too.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see them.
I think you told me an incident about a couple of the kids who were cussing and so.
Yeah. Yeah, there were about 5 of them out behind this lady's house on the Marquesas. She called up from dispatcher sent down there. I went and walked right behind the house and I could hear them, boy, they were having a good time. And I walked up behind a tree just about 20 yards from where he was at. And one little boy looked up and saw me and said, uh-oh, that's Sergeant Head. They all took off running. And one little boy said, hey, ain't no use to run. Said, Mr. Head done seen us and he knows us all. So they all stopped and come back. And I talked to them about it. And they never did give no more trouble around that. What lady's house?
That sounds like a really good way of handling things that are really not that serious. And I understand that there was an incident of a statue being stolen.
Yeah, that statue got gone. That man was really upset about that statue.
This was down at Catamaran?
It's all across from Catamaran. You know when you go down Windjammer?
And
get down into the circle. It's right down below there.
Yeah.
And the statue got gone, and we looked for that statue everywhere, couldn't find it. And one of the boys called me one night, and Mr. Head said, you want to know where that statue's at? I said, yeah, I sure would like to know. I said, that man's pretty upset about it. And I'd just like to get it back. And he told me where it was at. I went down and looked, and it was set behind a big old tree. I called him in the next day and told him I had his statue, and he took it down and put it back up.
Well,
and he asked me to don't tell nobody. Who told me that statue was down there? And I promised him I wouldn't. And I said I didn't tell nobody.
That's Mom's word.
Yeah.
Now you had early on you had some experience with the judge over in Fort Mill.
Oh yeah.
Early on, Fort Mill was handling our cases before.
He was taking care of all of them.
And well, it was
till they made a judge, until they appointed a judge in Tega Cay. And all of the ones that I wrote tickets for that went to Fort Mill, I lost one case. And that was on account of a bush sitting in the road, in the middle of the road. And the judge told me he couldn't find the man guilty because he showed me a picture and you couldn't tell on that picture where that bush was set. If that bush had been sitting where it looked like it was sitting in that picture, I couldn't have seen that man run a stop sign.
But I think it's interesting what the judge told you early on, so that you got the reputation that he would.
Sergeant Head, I'm gonna tell you something. If you ever come over here with a case, and I catch you in a lie, you might well don't bring no more, because I ain't gonna find nobody guilty. And I said, as far as I know, he never caught me in a lie.
And that's why you had no trouble getting the cases.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've told me a lot about.
Well, we never had no real bad cases in Tega Cay. If we had two bigger cases that went to General Session Court, we let the county handle it, and they took care of it.
Well, you've told me a lot about Tega Cay early on, and how how security was maintained and how the police force
yeah.
operated. You were with the police force.
Well, Tega Cay took care of the security. They really took care of it. We dressed nice. We had a nice car to drive. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, you performed a great service with Tega Cay, and I know the people.
Well, I think I did.
The people said you have to get out there and talk to Aaron Head if you want to find out what went on at Tega Cay early on. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anytime I can help you, just let me know.